Hello, today I have a quick, easy little tip for how you can instantly raise the value of your freelance services by using a technique I'm calling Runway Reduction Anchoring. So let's take a look at what it is. So I am sharing my screen for this little crappy Canva image that I made. If you're on the podcast, I'll just try to explain it to you. The idea behind this concept, I was thinking about this today because for the past 9 months, I've been working on this course for W freelancing called 200K Freelancer. If you've been following along, you know the deal. If you haven't, I'll just let you know what it is so that you can contextualize it. So basically, the biggest problem freelancers run into that I've seen since taking the helm at DYF is that they want to know how to get more clients. And so basically, I have spent about the past year and a half diving deep into all the freelance marketing strategies I could find. And eventually, even though I had biases against cold outreach, I just kept hearing about people making it work and spent the following 9 months distilling everything I learned about this specific cold outreach process that was working into a broader framework for how any freelancer who's skilled at their craft but kind of sucks at marketing can scale up a predictable client generating system, turn a couple $100,000 a year. So it's a very big project, obviously, to vet all these strategies, synthesize it all into a course, that kind of thing. And what I've been thinking about is the runway cost of doing that. And this is what prompted me to create today's video, because it's a very real cost that I hadn't really thought about in the past as a solopreneur. I hadn't really thought about it as a freelancer. I'm only thinking about it now as a air quotes real business owner, where I have these fixed recurring expenses of the DYF team and all of these various pipelines of projects, and I'm a bottleneck. I can't do everything at once. I only have so many hours in a day. And the fact that so many projects are relying on my attention in order to be finished means that there are a lot of projects that would add a lot of value and revenue to the company that just aren't getting done. And that, my friend, is where runway reduction anchoring comes into play. So this is where the screen share might be nifty. So let's jump into it. The idea here is that for any business where there's a bottleneck, this would apply the most to smaller businesses, I don't know, maybe a few $100,000 to $1 million or even $2 or $3 million a year, which you would be surprised that some clients who are earning a couple $1 million a year, their business is still very disorganized. I've worked with clients before who are earning a couple million a year that it's just the founder and a couple VAs. This isn't going to happen with service-based businesses, but for product-based businesses, and I tend to serve course creators, it's quite common. So that said, if you're working with this kind of business and they are a bottleneck in the business, it for them is less of a question when making decisions about what is going to be cheapest. And it's more a question of what is going to generate the value fastest? What's going to generate the value without their time and energy being required? Because they only have so much time and energy. And if there are 5 equally valuable projects and they can only handle one, then that means that if somebody else handles one of those 5 projects while they handle this other of the 5 projects, and they're getting double the value created. And as long as that one that someone else is handling is ROI positive, both in terms of dollars, but also in terms of time and energy, then they come out ahead. And the reason I say ROI positive in terms of time and energy is that if this person is the bottleneck, they, by nature of being the bottleneck, don't have a lot of time or energy to spare. So if you're going to come do some project for them, but in order for you to do the project, they have to spend 5 hours a week on the phone with you and answer all your little questions because you need them to micromanage you in order to do a good job, then that has quite a high energetic cost for them. And that's indeed a very real cost. But I digress. If we look at this example valuable project, let's see here. Yeah, sorry, I keep dragging the background because I made a white background in Canva to not have the dumb little dot grid, but now it's just messing me up. So anyway, sorry. Example valuable project with aggregating value. And the reason that I call this out is that sometimes a project you do for a client has one-time value, but I think maybe most times it has aggregating value. Like I was trying just now off the top of my head to think of a one-time value project, and I can't really think of one. I guess here's one. Let's say you're an event manager. If you run someone's event for them, like you put on a concert for them and they sell all the seats to the concert and you just like make all the stuff happen, that's a one-time value. They pay you to run the concert once and that concert makes them money once. But most projects that we freelancers do provide aggregating value. So if you're a designer and you like design the new website for this person and it converts better now and their audience resonates with them better now, like that's going to keep paying itself off for years and years and years. Like it keeps spitting out value indefinitely until the design becomes irrelevant. If you get somebody to the top of the Google search rankings as an SEO person, like that is just going to aggregate over time. It spits out value for forever. Same things like improving somebody's ROAS, return on investment from their ads. Sorry, return on ad spend, not investment. If you improve their ROAS, that spits out value forever. If you do conversion rate optimization, where you get their, like, let's say, cart abandonment rate down by 50%, like that is a really big difference in dollars that pays off for a long time. Same thing with load speed optimization, anything really. If you've seen the other video I have about the like high valuable value income business impacts thermometer, gosh, I butchered that. The high value business impacts thermometer, something along those lines. Any of those things that are providing value and do so in an aggregating, indefinite way are a really good candidate for this example of runway reduction anchoring. So our little example project here is going to add $3,000 a month in value. Once it's done, it's going to take 100 hours to do. And let's say you could do that in a month, or in-house, they could do it in 4 months. The actual numbers and hours and all that stuff don't really matter. The only thing that really matters is that like you could do it faster than they could do it in-house. And a lot of the time, like if it's the example of a solopreneur, it's not even a question of like hours to hours. It's more a question of like their own pipeline of priorities and stuff. So it might be that it takes them just as long as you, they do just as good of a job, but they can't actually prioritize it for a few months down the line, that kind of thing. But the reason I gave this example, and this will be useful for people on the screen share, is I've got this little timeline on the left showing a calendar and showing all the months in the year. And we can see that for the in-house creation, where it's taking 4 months, if they started it in January, it'd be done in May, right? That's maybe 5 months? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's 4 months. Cool. It's just, May is the 5th month, so it confused me. But the point is, if it takes them 4 months, then it's not going to be done, and it's not going to be producing that $3,000 a month in value until the 4 months is over. Whereas if you do your thing and you're done in a month, then it's producing that 3K a month in value much sooner. So in their case, they finished it and it started producing 3K a month in May. And you finished it and it started producing 3K a month in February. And this is where that quantification of runway cost really becomes apparent. So in the case of them handling it in-house, 3K a month in value for 8 months means 24K by the end of the year that they generated by doing this thing. Whether that was like improving their SEO or doing some conversion rate optimization or whatever the thing was. There are a million tasks in the business. Like they could have rolled out some Zapier automations so that their team doesn't have to like manually do tasks every single day. Whatever the high value project was, it was worth $24,000 for them by the end of the year, assuming they didn't have to pay a team member to do it, like assuming it was just the founder's time or whatever. And in the instance where you did it, because you beat the runway by 3 months, it produces $33,000 in value by the end of the year. So that 3 months faster equates to $9,000 in extra value just from the timeline. Like this is assuming you do just as good of a job as them, which you will most likely do a much better job of them. Because at the end of the day, like if you are an SEO person, or you are a designer, a conversion rate optimization person, or whatever the valuable impact is that you provide, like you do this shit all day, every day. This is your specialization. You're gonna be better at it than they are. If you're new, maybe you won't be. Like if you're a new copywriter and this person's some seasoned business owner and they've been running businesses for like a decade, maybe you're not actually a better copywriter than them. And what's really cool about this runway reduction anchoring approach is that even if you're not a better copywriter than them, you still create an ROI positive situation for them, not because you like actually created a bigger impact than they would, like pulling that value lever of, the thermometer with the high value stuff, like showing it before and after you did a better job, but instead showing that you can do as good of a job faster and without it taking any of their time or energy. When time or energy is scarce and precious, simply being able to have somebody who I can hand something off to that will do as good or not even as good, like 80%. Dan Martella talks about how for delegation, he says 80% done by somebody else is 100% freaking awesome. Something I'm trying to drive into my skull. So even if a founder could hand something off and get it 80% done, and that is to say 80% of the ROI of what they would get, but have it done way faster, that's still so let's play out the math here. So let's say instead of $3K a month, you were adding whatever 80% of that is, like $2,400, right? I'll pause and do some math. All right, so I did some math. So supposing you were 80% as effective as this person. So let's suppose if they did the conversion rate optimization themselves, they'd get a 10% bump. And if you did it, you got them an 8% bump. So you're 80% as good at driving an impact as them, or your impact is 80% of what theirs would be. I think you get what I'm saying. Even with that, 11 months of value at this $2,400 a month value creation means $28,800 by the end of the year, which is still an extra $4,400 in extra value just from the runway. But it gets cooler because this whole calculus, if it's the founder doing it, assumes that the founder does it. And if it's going to take the founder months to do this thing, then that's months that they can't do something else. So it's not just that you made these guys $4,400. It's that you made them, $28,800, and the speed alone is worth $4,400, and they're able to get this result in addition to whatever other fucking thing they want to do with their time. So if you're running email marketing campaigns for them so that they now have space between January to May to do conversion rate optimization, then they are coming out $50,000 or whatever ahead because these two things got done instead of just one thing being done. And the thing that you did got done faster. I think you get what I'm getting at. So with all of this stuff, your creativity with how you position it on sales calls or in your copy on your website or whatever is the limit. You want to keep something simple, easy to understand, but also be able to point to a really cool, sexy metric. So if you were using this on a sales call, probably you would want to talk to them about what their big time sucks are, where they're the bottleneck, what the things are that they want to be working on, and what they'd be able to handle if you took this off their plate. So if it was Zach, if I was able to get your conversion rate for your opt-in form up by 10% so you don't have to do that. Or Zach, if I was able to run all of your email marketing or send your newsletters or whatever so that you don't have to do that, what would you get to spend the time on instead? And when you're using this with commoditized services or subjective value services, let's say sending nurture emails, the email newsletter, your only option is anchoring to the time saved. You would only get to say, Zach, if you don't have to spend 5 hours a week writing a newsletter anymore, what revenue generating things could you do instead? And you'd anchor your services to the value of those revenue generating activities, which is more compelling than nothing at all, but not crazy compelling. Whereas when you stack it here, you get to anchor it to the value of those revenue generating activities on top of the already hella compelling fact that you are going to do a thing that would get them this $28,800 outcome. And if you're charging, $5,000 for it, or $10,000 or $3,000 or $1,000 or whatever you're charging, as long as that number is a lot less than $28,800, it's still going to be very attractive. So stack this with all the other strategies we talk about for positioning yourself, being valuable, that kind of thing. And if you want to dive deeper into this, we talk about this a lot in the W Rates Toolkit and W Freelancing Rate. And then obviously in the 200K Freelancer course that I've got coming out soon, given that it's this comprehensive start to finish thing, I'll get into all this kind of stuff in there too. My goal with 200K Freelancers is that for freelancers who are experienced at their craft, So like maybe you suck at marketing, but you're good at designing websites or whatever. I want this to be like the one course you need to get a 200K a year lead gen and sales system. So I'll definitely get into all this there. Hopefully you find this helpful, and see you in the next one.